Okay, okay. Time to do
We
this.
are live right now. All right. How is it going? Oh, here we go. How is it going? Welcome to the first official Pop Tarts podcast for fantasy football, also known as the Popcast. Um, Here with Brandon and Jake today. We are going to be telling you a variety of information, such as, start sits, who you're going to buy low, who you're going to sell high, all that kind of jazz. We're not the top of the top experts, but we're here to help you out. We know what we're talking about, and hopefully you can get some information. Hopefully this is very informational. We're going to start off with Brandon. Introduce yourself.
All right, what's up? I'm Brandon, uh, Penn State University. We're all college students, as mentioned. Penn State University over here, and yeah, that's about it. Yep. See, Jake repping the Penn State.
All right. We also got Jake over here. Introduce yourself, Jake, real quick.
And on, I'm Jake. I'm Jake Nunez. That's Jake's Torres. But I go to Rutgers, Newark, commuter. My favorite team is the Seahawks, and it's actually kind of funny. We have all Seahawks fans in here right now. But yeah, it's just a little bit about me.
All right. So we don't really want to waste any time with any introductions or anything, even though we kind of just did. We're gonna get into some of like the top players that we think are gonna be performing this season. Starting off with Brandon, he's gonna give his top five, a little bit of explanation why. We're gonna move on to Jake Nunez, and then we're gonna move on to me. And always talk in chat if you want. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll interrupt what's going on. We'll answer you. We'll help you out. So Brandon, you can start us off.
All right, starting off with number one, no particular order. We got Raiders tight end Brock Bowers. Now, I think Brock Bowers is a pretty safe pick behind a struggling passing offense, subpar quarterback play from Gardner Minshew. He is the number two target behind, obviously, Devontae Adams on this Raiders offense. But with Gardner Minshew struggling to get the ball downfield to Devontae Adams struggling pulling in these targets, Brock Bowers is a definite safety net for Gardner Minshew in this offense, pulling in, receiving 9 targets in week 2, 8 in week 1. He's got 17 targets over the season, breaking 100 in his game 2, breaking 100 yards in his game 2, pulling that in as well. So I think if Brock Bowers is a guy you can get on your team, definitely going to be a good pick, definitely going to be a solid pickup at tight end. Right now, currently the tight end number 2. Second player I'm going to go for is Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, in this very high-powered Detroit offense. Now, though he may be splitting carries, obviously, with David Montgomery, I feel as though he's got that high potential for that receiving upside, and obviously he gets a lot of those big downfield gains, big rushes. Montgomery may get a majority of the end zone touches, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs makes up for it in his 3-down play. And then player number 3, we're going to go with Baker Mayfield. Now, obviously, this is a pretty unexpected pick. Baker Mayfield coming into the season, nobody thought he was going to be that good, but so far he's showing us some amazing stats in this Bucs offense. This team is hot right now, and he has amazing targets in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Player number 4 is going to be Bijan Robinson. Under the new coach this season, we've seen Bijan get a ton more carries, a ton more usage, not splitting as many carries anymore with Tyler Algier, using him a lot more to the potential he can be, and I think he's a solid player. Could definitely end up being the RB1 on the season, especially with CMC now being injured. Happens every year. And then player 5, we've got Rashee Rice. Obviously, Chiefs, high-powered passing offense. Lot of Mahomes likes his targets. Mahomes likes his speedsters. Mahomes loves his receivers. Travis Kelce going on the decline, getting older, not getting as many targets anymore. Obviously, we've got Marquise Brown, most likely not playing a single game this season. I think Rashee Rice is definitely the number 1 target in this offense.
I mean, what more could you ask for? Those are 5 very solid picks, actually. Me personally, I don't see Rashee Rice being all that. I see him being a great receiver, don't get me wrong. Jacob, unless you have anything else, I mean, it's your turn.
I just want to say I love Rashee Rice. I mean, I have him in both of my money leagues. Who do you have on the Chiefs? You have Rashee Rice, great receiver. You got Travis Kelce, that we've seen through the past 2 weeks, is on a decline. We even saw it last season. And then you got the rookie, Xavier Worthy. Yes, he's a good player. Yes, he gets those deep balls, but Rashee, man, I just think he's their number 1. But I'll be going into my top 5 right now. No particular order, too. I have Malik Neighbors. I mean, he is this Giants offense. He is the offense. He has 25 targets through only 2 weeks, which is 3rd most in the NFL right now. He's looking like a top playmaker in the NFL in his only rookie season. He has 5 20-plus receiving plays. Sorry, 5 20-yard-plus receiving plays, and he's tied 5th right now for yards after catch. We know the Giants. Let's be honest. They're pretty bad. So they're going to be in a lot of either close or big losing situations, which means a lot of gambles, which means Daniel Jones rifling the ball to Malik a lot. So the only downside to me for him is that his quarterback is Daniel Jones. But shout out Malik Neighbors. My next one would be James Cook. I mean, 3 touchdowns in 2 games. He has a lot of touchdown upside, and we've seen Josh Allen in these past 2 games not go too deep. We're used to Josh Allen's big arm throwing it deep, but we've seen a lot of checkdowns to James Cook, and he's a big playmaker. He has a great ability to turn nothing into something. My next player is Ramondre Stevenson. I love Ramondre. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he's a sell high, get him all off your team, but I love him personally. He's on a very run-heavy team. We can see that by their 75 run attempts in just 2 games, which is crazy. The Patriots have a hard schedule, and the Patriots are a mid team right now, but I feel like they're going to use Ramondre a lot. He has 46 attempts. He's 3rd right now in the NFL, And under new OC Alex Van Pelt, we've seen a lot of jumbo packages. We've seen him out there a lot. So I really like Ramondre this season. He's just a great running back. And Alvin Kamara, I mean, it's Alvin Kamara, 66 points, 2 games. It's insane. Under the new OC, Clint Kubiak, he's unstoppable. This Saints offense is unstoppable. He dropped, I think it was like 47 or 41 points against a Cowboys defense, which is one of the best in the NFL. And with CMC missing about 5 weeks, I think he's going to finish as RB1 on the year. My fifth player, not like really a stud, but it's Jameis Williams. Jameis Williams. Uh, it's breakout season for him. Let's be honest. We've seen him get the ball so much deep down the field. Even with Amon-Ra being there, I love him personally. I know Jake loves him too, putting up those like sneaky 14-point games. There's just a lot of upside that for him. And even Amon-Ra getting injured. I mean, it's not a big injury, but from news it said that it will linger through the season, so we could see a lot of Jameson Williams. So yeah, that's my top 5.
It's a solid top 5. I mean, I love Kamara personally. I love him. I have him in my league. Dropped to 44 points. He wasn't even the game changer. That was the worst part. I won by a lot, but I won by 50 points. Kamara scored 44. It would have been close otherwise. And that's not stress that I want to have on my team. So I love Kamara. Before I continue, we actually have our first chat of the day. Captain Joe King, how you doing? Said, huge fan of the show, already a sub. Just sold Flowers and Worthy for Bowers. I know it's a pretty bold opinion, but I feel that he's a better version of 2023 Laporta. Opinions? I have Kyle Pitts. Okay, so I'll go first before I continue. Whoa. So you're having 2 tight ends. I mean, look, tight ends week 1, we all know what happened. Crazy disaster. Brock Bowers being, what did you say? You said 2023 Laporta. Honestly, I can't say I disagree with that. I can't fully agree with it. I can't fully disagree with it. So selling Flowers and Worthy for Bowers, though, if you have Kyle Pitts on your team, I know everybody's either one side or the other with Kyle Pitts. Everybody says, oh, he's either going to have a great year. And then there's people that say, you say that every year he's going to have a great year, and he never does. But you know, I could see Bowers being 2023 Laporta. I could definitely see it happen. And Brandon, Jake, what do you guys think?
I personally I don't mind it. I kind of like it. Selling Slay Flowers, I don't know about that. I would have thrown in like maybe a less like better receiver. I don't like Worthy. I think he's a very like boom bust player. It's gonna be every other week. We already seen it. First week he dropped so many points, and then this week didn't do much. But I do like Brock Bowers. Actually, was the one last year that picked up Laporta in our league, like week 3, week 4, and he finished amazingly. So I do see Brock Bowers being Sam Laporta this year, rookie tight end. On yeah.
Yeah, as I said, Brock Bowers, one of my top 5 guys coming into this season in the Raiders offense. Great safety net for Gardner Minshew. However, I don't know. Again, I'm going to say I don't know about selling Flowers for him. Worthy, I could definitely see. Not the biggest fan of Worthy either. With Kyle Pitts on your team, I don't know if that was the greatest move. Definitely would have kept. Definitely would have kept Zay Flowers there. Great receiver. Has a lot of potential in that Ravens offense. Him being the 2023 Laporta, I don't know. I could definitely see it. 2023 Laporta was great. Came in, shocked everybody. Started playing absolutely amazing. Amazing waiver pickup if you were able to get him here, like Jake was. I don't know. If I were you, I would definitely try and chip off Kyle Pitts now though, because Brock Bowers is going to be that tight end one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bowers is great. My dad's a Raider fan, so shout out Raiders. The only thing I would have done, probably Kyle Pitts and Worthy, if you were able to somehow sell high on both of them, get Bowers out of that. Or like Jake said, give a lesser wide receiver because Worthy had a very, very good week. You could have used that, or you did use that to your advantage. But Flowers, man, Flowers is that wide receiver one, and it's not close. Um, my top players. I'm gonna take a look at them right now. Number one, Devontae Smith. All right, this is a dude who has A.J. Brown injured, and the wide receiver behind him is Jahan Dotson. I'm a Penn State guy. I love Penn State. What are we doing? There's no other wide receiver that's going to be able to compete with this guy. He's going to put up so many points. He's going to put up in like I can't even begin to describe the projections I have for this dude. If I could get him in my league, I would. I know that there's a guy in my league that has him who he's going to be a little bit pricey on him. Speaking of wide receivers, I'm gonna go ahead and say Godwin as well. He's the wide receiver one in a PPR league. I don't know about half PPR. I don't know about no PPR. He's a wide receiver one. He dropped, I believe, 24 and 22 in weeks 1 and 2. The guy he's being put in the slot, right? He has Baker as a quarterback. Jake said everyone knew he was a good quarterback since last year. Nobody had this stellar projection for him. We're going to get into the Bucks later too, by the way. But nobody had this crazy projection for Chris Godwin. I was able to pick him up. I want to say 6th, 7th, 8th round. Not 6th, sorry. 7th, 8th, 9th round. For my last receiver, I'd probably say Rashid Shaheed. The one, the only. This dude looks like a serious contender for wide receiver one on the Saints. I mean, you have Derek Carr, who's having a monstrous 2 games. Nobody knows if that's going to continue, but we're all hoping it does for the guy because we've seen him on the Raiders. He's had those crazy clips of, call timeout. But other than that, this dude's never really been the talk of the town, and now he's finally getting that respect. And I love it. I love every second of it. But going back to the Penn State theme, not Jahan Dotson. We're going to go with Saquon here. He was a first-round pick in almost every single draft. I love him. I can't get my hands on him. I wish I could. There's no good trades that I can make for this dude that would, show how good he really is. But this dude puts his life on the line for football. There's not much else I could say. I love him. He's an incredible rusher. He's an incredible catcher. I mean, yes, we had the one catch last game against the Falcons that was a target. He did not receive it. We all know what happened. It was on the goal line. Could have scored a touchdown. Not on the goal line. It was a little in front. But everyone loves Saquon, And he's finally on a team with a good O-line. I know everyone's been talking about that in the preseason, so this is his chance to finally step up, be a top, 3 running back that everybody knows he really is in fantasy. And for my last player, I'm going with the quarterback. I'm going with Kyler Murray. He's finally back. He doesn't have Josh Dobbs, the astronaut, behind him. There's no one that's really going to compete with this dude as long as he stays healthy. He has Marvin. He has Maserati Marv, and that's what we all love about him. He delivered a crazy amount of points this week. I want to say 28. I mean, and you can see why. He can run. Everyone loves a good rushing quarterback, and he can throw. And we've seen what happens when you can throw the ball. We've seen what happens with Rashid Shaheed and Derek Carr. You can hopefully expect the same thing out of Maserati Marv and Kyler Murray. I mean, if nobody has anything to say, I kind of want to get onto our hot teams of the week. And I'm going to start off. I'm going to say the Bucks. I just told you guys I'm going to get into them in a little bit. This is a little bit now. I'm getting into them. Baker Mayfield. Who are you, dude? I feel like you're coming back to your college self. Ever since Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma days, you have Mike Evans, who's approaching his 11th year, hoping to get 1,000 yards, and I feel like you're going to be the man that's going to be able to give it to him. And now you have Chris Godwin, who's playing in a situation that he really likes to play in. He likes to play in the slot, at least fantasy-wise, and we've seen that from time to time. He's finished as, I want to say, a wide receiver 14 twice in the past 3 years. And right now, he's the wide receiver 1. Listen, it's week 1. It's early. We all know it's early. But the projections that I have for this dude, or for this team, sorry, is so high. You have Bucky Irving as the backup running back. He's playing from Oregon. the dude's tough, man, and he really looks like he's in serious contention to take away Rashad White's running back one spot. Um, I personally think that he's going to get there. You know, if he can understand the NFL a little bit more. I know that, you know, rookie running backs that come into the past, you know, excluding the exceptions, excluding Bijan, they usually sit, you know, the year. But this dude really just has a tough skull. This dude's willing to put his life on the line for the ball, and you can see it. You saw it at Oregon, and I think you're going to see it here. And yeah, I mean, apart from, you know, their coaching scheme and everything else that's going on, I think that they're going to be a serious contending team. I think that they're going to have, obviously, you know, a better year than last year. I think they were, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they were in the playoffs against the Eagles, and that's where they lost, right? Last year.
It was the Lions. I can't even remember.
I
I'm pretty
can't
sure it was the Lions.
I can't remember either, but it was either the Lions or the Eagles. But we don't see the Eagles performing. You know, the Eagles are better, but now they're losing AJ Brown. So if we ever happen to run into that little problem again, I think the Bucks are personally going to get it done. We'll start with Brandon. What's your team for the week or for the season rather?
All right, coming in now with my hot team for the season. I have the Minnesota Vikings. Now, you know, losing Kirk Cousins, didn't know how this was going to go for them. Sam Darnold traded to them. Wasn't sure how this was going to go either. Not a lot of people had a lot of optimism for this, but Sam Darnold has come in and thrown absolute great numbers. First game, he's going to come in. He's going to come in against the Giants. Obviously, slam the Giants 28-6. He's going to throw for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know, on 19 for 24. Nobody expected this out of this guy, who's always been a subpar quarterback on a team. You know, the Jets, they're benching him. You know, a lot of the competition. He's just never been that guy, but now it seems like he may have some real potential this season. You got Aaron Jones, obviously, now on the Minnesota Vikings, going off for 94 yards and a touchdown in week 1. Week 2, big upset win over the 49ers. You know, this is a team with a great defense, and Sam Darnold's able to come out here and throw for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns against them. It's going to be really exciting what we see from him the rest of this season. I think Sam Darnold could definitely be an amazing quarterback for this team. Nobody expected it from this guy. He's never been that great of a passer, of an influence on a team, but I don't know. I really think this season he could come in and turn the Vikings around, make them some real contenders this season.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I couldn't have said it better. I think the Vikings are going to do great. You know, you're right. Huge upset. We got a lot of season to go, though, obviously, and this is going to stand true with all the teams. Jake, what are we looking at here? What's your hot team?
All right, my hot team, my dark horse team on the season is the Arizona Cardinals. And you might think this is surprising from a Seahawks fan, but let's look at it. A dominant win over the Rams. Yes, they didn't have Puka. Yes, Cooper Kupp got injured, but this was a 41-10 win. It was not no like 31-10, 21-10. It was a dominant win where everybody showed out. I mean, we saw Marvin Harrison Jr. ball out. He's finally found that connection with Kyler Murray. And if you sold him week 1, man, I feel so sorry for you. Even James Conner's balling out over there. Trey McBride. Their defense they're doing surprisingly good too. I mean, they lost to the Bills, yes, but that was off a comeback. They should have had that secure, but they will learn from these mistakes. Kyler Murray, I think, will finish top 5 in the MVP race. He is having a year, and nobody's talking about it. And that's my take on them.
It's really solid. I mean, you're right. We're all Seahawks fans. None of us want to hear that the Cardinals are going to have a good year, but it's very true. That was all our teams. We move on to the buy lows. Each of us has either 1 or 2 people that we would suggest you go into your fantasy league, you try and snipe this player for what they've been doing. I'm going to start off DJ Moore of the Chicago Bears. We all know the controversy with Caleb Williams. No one says he's going to be good. They retired his number at USC. They do that with every Heisman winner, you know. But Caleb Williams has not fully adjusted yet to the level of NFL play. Yes, he's went to training camp. Yes, he has went to, the preseason games. But he's not fully in these game time situations. It's finally now he's starting to get what being a true NFL quarterback is really like he's had his first 2 games. He's warming up onto the scene. Um, and now, if we look at their receiving core, you have Keenan Allen, who I think is great. Is he injured? I don't think he's injured right now. Is he injured?
He's gonna be out for another 2 weeks. It was
Yeah, 2 weeks. So
something like that.
he is injured. And then Roma Dunze, I believe everyone's talking about him too. He's really gonna be, in my opinion, what he was last year. I remember he had the 50 bomb, right, last year. That was a big thing, and then everybody started talking about DJ Moore. But he might not have a 50 bomb, right? But I think this is his year to get back into, that DJ Moore that we all know and love, and we get to see probably a glimpse of light from that 50 bomb in every single game, and I think that's what we can look forward to seeing from this guy. So I would try and get him. I think in the last 2 weeks he's had like 11 and 10 points. So try to get him. That's my recommendation if I can make one. Brandon, what are we looking at?
All right, coming in here with my buy low pick. Going to be a player that may seem like a shocker to some. You could ask, how is this guy a buy low player? But it's Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk obviously coming off a very rough start to the beginning of the season, only receiving 10 total targets over the first 2 games, averaging 6.6 fantasy points. However, he's now in an offense where you've got Deebo Samuel down, potentially out for several weeks. This guy, Deebo Samuel, is a guy who's always getting injured. You never know. Great player, but he's not too reliable. I could see him, being out for an extended period of time. And then obviously you've got CMC placed on IR. So, Ayuk's only real competition in this offense is George Kittle, obviously, who we know the Niners and Shanahan like to use him a lot in the blocking game and the run game. So I don't know. He did see a big amount of targets in week 2. Did have a pretty good game, but I don't know if that's going to be too consistent. And obviously, Ayuk coming off. Ayuk got that bag this offseason. He's gonna have to really step up now with those 2 key players out and show that he can really perform and do what he's being paid to do. So coming off a rough first 2 weeks, I think a lot of players are gonna be panicking on him, and I'm definitely gonna have him as somebody you should buy low on.
I completely agree. I really, there's no other thing I could say to that. I completely agree. Once again, we're all Seahawks fans, but that's the guy. Jake, what are we looking at?
All right. Well, for my buy low, I have Mike Evans, who again, like Brandon said, it's kind of like a higher buy low, if that makes sense. But he only had 7.2 this week on a game where Chris Godwin had about 24. I feel that everybody's almost like scared by Chris Godwin's performance. Like, is he the wide receiver 1? I feel like the Bucs is a team where there's not a wide receiver 1. I feel like it's evenly Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. We all know Mike Evans. He's Mr. Consistency. He's going to bounce back. And with Baker going crazy this year, I'm sure Mike Evans will still get the volume and the yards that we want and touchdowns. More into it, the Bucs have the 7th easiest schedule in the league with weak defenses like the Giants, Panthers, Eagles, Commanders, Broncos. We should still see a lot of good stuff from Mike Evans. I would try to do a 2-for-1 deal with him and try to snag him up. He can be a very good wide receiver 2 or even a high-end flex. So, yeah.
Mike Evans, listen, he's had, like I said again, 10 years straight of 1,000 yards. We have another question coming in. I have both, and I'm wondering which one to sell. What's your guys' opinions on Marvin Harrison Jr. and Chris Olave? So, if you're saying that you have both Marvin Harrison Jr. and Chris Olave and you're wondering who to sell, I'll give my opinion. Brandon will give his. Jake will give his. I'm going to start off and say that you're going to sell Chris Olave. You're going to sell him low. You're going to sell him for what you can. Marvin Harrison Jr., the Cardinals just realized that they had him. That was their problem week 1. They didn't know that he existed. Now they know he existed. They know that he was drafted, 3rd, 4th pick. He exists, and he is there. He had 2 touchdowns, right? The dude's a beast. If you watched him play in college, he was playing on a level that made every single other wide receiver just looks slow. The way that he comprehends plays, the way that he can shift his body, it's something that you can really look for in a prospect and you can trust. No matter what, I am 100% keeping Marvin Harrison Jr. And you guys can answer that question really quick on your own. We have another question coming in really quick from Braun Patel. Um, that's our friend. Brandon and Jake, you guys can go really quick.
So going back to the Marvin Harrison Jr. and Debo, oh sorry, not Debo, Chris Olave. Obviously, keep Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, we saw it. We all saw that game. As Jake said, they realized they had him. He's due to have a great season. Probably top 15. Probably finishing him top 15. Chris Olave, I would keep. I know everybody's saying sell him, get rid of him, blah blah blah. I am keeping Chris Olave, and I'll tell you this. Yes, the Saints offense is looking absolutely gorgeous, but they're not going to drop 41 points every week. There's going to be close games. It's bound to happen. I see that these close games are going to come. Eric Carr is not going to look for Rashid Shaheed down the field. He's going to look for Chris Olave in these close situation games, as any game goes. So I actually like Chris Olave. Unless you can put him in a deal where you're benefiting a lot, I'm keeping him personally.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree here. Personally, if I have both of these guys, I'm keeping both of these guys. Chris Olave is going to be a great receiver and a very, very high-powered offense so far this season. And obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., we saw how many times Kyler went for him in the end zone, even though he didn't come down with him every time. But definitely seems like he's already starting to be Kyler's favorite receiver on this team. Definitely doesn't have much competition on this team either besides Trey McBride. There aren't many receivers on this team. Not a lot of star potential here, but I think Maserati Marv could definitely be that guy in this offense. So I'm gonna have to say if you can keep them both, keep them both. If you have to sell one to improve your team, I am gonna say sell Chris Olave, obviously, because there is Rashid Shaheed on that offense as well.
Yeah, we're gonna get into our waiver wire picks in just a minute, but I'll quickly answer with one of my waiver wire picks. If you have him in your league, Rashid Shaheed, I think that's the number one, but he's a very hot commodity. Probably not gonna have him. Um, I would also say, what is his name? Io Sivas from the Bengals. I'm so bad with pronouncing. He's a very good pick. We'll do our sell highs really quick, and then we'll get into our waiver wire picks. For my sell high, I'm gonna say Brees Hall. Now, this is a dude that before Bijan started getting hype in the preseason as being the RB1, maybe even ahead of McCaffrey in some cases, people were talking about Brees Hall. They said this Jets O-line is better. They're coming back with a vengeance. They're going to have Aaron Rodgers, and he's not going to have the injury that he had. Um, but for me, the real concern that I have with Brees Hall is Braylon Allen. We were fortunate enough to see both of them produce last week. Are we going to be fortunate enough to see both of them produce every week? That's where I kind of come in and say I draw the line. No. Braylon Allen looks like a really, really good athlete. The dude was put in the receipt, like he was put as a wide receiver at one point in one of the plays. Um, and I think he's a dude that is going to start eventually over time, slowly catching more carries, getting more carries by game. And that's something that I worry about with Brees Hall, especially not even from a Brees Hall standpoint, from a draft position standpoint. You drafted this dude I would guess, either from the 103 ranging all the way down to even the 108 if you were lucky. Um, but me personally, I can't say there. I can't sit there and say I would stay with Brees Hall. Just because of the draft position, just because of the ADP that he was at, that you took him at. I would try to sell him high, and I would try to get what I can for him because I don't think he's going to perform later in the season. Brandon, what do you got for me?
So for my sell high pick, I know this is one Jake's not necessarily gonna like, but I've got Seahawks wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now, I know struggled week 2, only saw 2 targets, 19 yards, couldn't bring in any touchdowns. Week 2, obviously, we saw a huge difference. 12 receptions on 16 targets, 117 yards. Still no touchdowns, however. But, you got to keep in mind this is against the Pats defense that isn't very great against the pass, And this was a very high efficiency offense game for the Seahawks, with DK Metcalf breaking 100 yards as well, seeing 14 targets. But, in an offense where you've got DK Metcalf, you've got Jackson Smith and Jigba, you've got Tyler Lockett. I don't know if this is sustainable threshold for JSN to 16 targets isn't going to be consistent for anybody, obviously, but in an offense like this, I don't know if 16 can be consistent for JSN, and I don't know if he'll continue to see the same volume that he did in week 2. So I'm definitely going to try and get what I can for this guy after week 2, where he had an amazing performance.
100%. Jake, let me hear it.
All right, my sell high for this week is Calvin Ridley. We saw kind of like the same thing with JSN. Week 1, he underperformed. I think he only had 6 to 7 points. But in week 2, he dropped 25 points. But I don't like him. I don't like him at all. I mean, it was a touchdown-dependent game. He had 4 receptions, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns, one in the air, one on the ground. And the reasons not to like him is, first of all, the Titans have the 7th hardest schedule in the league. Levis is terrible. I mean, the memes are hilarious, but he is terrible. I mean, I think I could go out there and make smart decisions. And also, Tyler Boyd, D-Hop, they're getting the same snaps played as him, same percentage around. I just don't like that. So I'll try to sell high on Calvin Ridley. He had a big week. Don't get me wrong. He could be a mid flex, but I think you could get great value from this week he had.
I mean, if you didn't put Calvin Ridley, I would have 100%. We have 2 more questions coming in. We'll try to keep this short so we can keep going on with the program. But obviously, ask questions. We love to interact with you guys. Jacob, who was supposed to be on the podcast today, or the POPCAST, I should say. Thoughts on James Cook? So sad I missed. We're sad that you missed too. James Cook. The dude's getting volume. We're seeing it. He's getting receptions. He's getting rushing yards. Every single chance that, the Bills can, they're giving the ball to this dude. And I don't think that's stopping. I think the dude is going to have a great season. That's personally my take on it.
I mean, he was in my top 5 players for this week and kind of going forward. I love James Cook. If I traded for him in my half PPR league because he's gained the volume. We're seeing the rushing volume. We're seeing the receiving volume. I'm not really threatened by Keon Coleman. I'm not really threatened by Dalton Kincaid. I personally just love James Cook. I think he's going to be a big player in this offense going forward.
I mean, again, I couldn't agree more. James Cook's getting a lot of those offensive targets. Great rushing upside, great receiving upside as well. I think he's going to be a great player. Definitely somebody you should target in your leagues.
Yeah, I was unlucky enough to take Drake London over him. I am regretting it to this day. Another question coming in from the same dude that asked the Marvin Harrison and Chris Olave question. How sustainable do you think Tyreek Hill's production will be with the Tua injury? He's Tyreek Hill, okay? No matter what, the dude is going to find a way to get open. It's just going to matter if that backup quarterback's going to be able to see it. I saw him throwing against the Bills. It didn't look pretty. But, we could also have a crazy Linsanity run from him. We don't know what's going to happen. That's a very uncertain thing. I'm not going to sit here and say I can give you a certain 100% yes or no question or estimate on what I think is going to happen. But the dude is Tyreek Hill. So that's my take on it. I think he's going to have a very productive season regardless of who he has at quarterback. Brandon, Jake?
Yeah, I personally would keep Tyreek Hill. I wouldn't sell him or anything. They have Skylar Thompson, and I think that's how you say his last name. But obviously, he's not no Tua. But it's, again, as Jake said, it's Tyreek Hill. He's going to be getting the ball still. He's going to be turning plays that could be considered dead into something. He's it's Tyreek Hill. That's all I gotta say, honestly. But yeah.
The same, this isn't the first time we've seen this. This is definitely not the first time we've seen Tua go down. Horrible luck with these injuries here, but last season when he was out, you see Skylar Thompson come in a couple times. Obviously, we've seen Tyreek Hill's numbers dip a little bit, but he's still Tyreek Hill. He's still going to find a way to get open, and as long as that ball can get to him, he's going to make a play happen. So I think he's definitely somebody you hold on to.
100%. I mean, he's Tyreek Hill. That's what we all said. That's what we all stand by. We're gonna move into the waiver wire section. We had a question earlier about Brock Bowers and thoughts on Kyle Pitts. I'm gonna bring in another tight end to the mix. I'm gonna say Mike Gesicki coming out of hometown Penn State, but it's not because of the Penn State. All right, we know what happens when a quarterback has a good relationship with their tight end. We look at Brady and Gronk, right? We look at Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Is this going to be that elite of an example with Joe Burrow and Gesicki? No, I don't think it is. But the dude's going to have a better relationship with Joe Burrow. Jamar Chase is a complete diva, in my opinion. He's looking for more money in this contract. T. Higgins, he's not playing. He's injured. Um, and you don't really have anybody else solid there. And Mike Gesicki, he looks like he's going to be that guy for Joe Burrow. He looks like he's going to be a person that's going to be catching a lot of receptions. They may not be for a lot of yards, but I think he's going to be playing more on that kind of, pass catching style than he is going to be on the line. Brandon, who do you have for the waiver wire?
No, my waiver wire pickup isn't just one player. It's a grouping of players, and it may come as a surprise after seeing how horrible this offense is doing, but I'm going to have to say Carolina Panthers wide receivers. Now, obviously they've played horrible behind Bryce Young, young mind of him, not a lot of experience behind his belt, but now you've got him benched for a quarterback coming in and had a solid career as backup and as a starter. Came in last season, played 3 games, 58.6% completion, couple touchdowns on him, Andy Dalton, this veteran quarterback, and obviously we saw Adam Thielen's insane production last year, came out of nowhere. Nobody thought he was going to be that great again after being traded from his team, and he came in, had an amazing season. Obviously, he hasn't done so well this season, but he's been seeing a couple of the targets, and I think with a better quarterback like Dalton, obviously I know it's crazy to say better quarterback, but I think Dalton's going to be a much better quarterback than Bryce Young. So I think these Panthers wide receivers, especially Thielen, maybe even Deontay Johnson, could see a lot more production in this offense now.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree. So I'm going to get into my waiver wire. I have 2 picks. Now, my first pick, you're either gonna be like, "Who in the world is this?" or you're gonna know him. It's Jalen Nailor. All right, Vikings wide receiver 3, upgraded to wide receiver 2 in week 2 with the Jordan Addison injury. Listen, Jalen Nailor has quietly put up 2 touchdowns and 88 yards. It has been in 93% of the Viking snaps. 93%. It's crazy. With the chance of Jordan Addison not playing this week and JJS being day to day, I can see Naylor being a very mid to high risk, but high reward flex option for this week. And I could see him definitely getting another touchdown. I mean, he's had 2 touchdowns in his 1 touchdown week 1, one touchdown week 2. I definitely see him getting another tutty. My next pick, it's kind of obvious, Hunter Henry. I mean, 12 targets, 8 receptions on 12 targets, 109 yards. I mean, great game. Again, kind of like with Ramondre. The Patriots run a lot of jumbo packages, which we can see because in week 1 he had an 83% snap rate and an 84 in week 2, and he's just gonna be a great tight end, especially in this weird market we have right now for tight ends. It's kind of imploding on itself, But yeah.
Yeah, no, the tight end market's very weird. But it's seeming to come back to normal this week. I mean, at least as far as how some did rather than others. I know my tight end Kincaid, he had a little bit of a better week. We got another question coming. By the way, Jacob, you can steal all the waiver pickups. You can't steal all of these waiver pickups. So You can only get so many. What is your stance on rookies with a lot of upside but not much stability? So, saying for Thomas, I'm gonna assume you're saying Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, and it said Sabres. I'm gonna assume that's Neighbors. Um, Neighbors has stability. He has a bad quarterback, right? Um, but he's a great receiver. He's shown that he can play at the NFL level. Um, I think he's going to be that guy. He's going to perform at a really, really high level. He might not put up numbers like prime Jay Jettas or, Rashid Shaheed right now. But he's going to put up a lot of numbers. Xavier Worthy, he's fast. We all know he's fast. Stability is not quite there. If you think he's going to have a pop-off week, that's up to you to decide. I couldn't tell you. Um, there might be some defenses that struggle with him more than others, and we're going to see what happens with that as the season goes on. Brian Thomas coming out of LSU, the guy's great. Um, you have Christian Kirk in that offense, and you have Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball. But if he plays at a consistent level, which we know he can, he played at a great level at LSU. Um, but if he just performs at a solid level, he's going to be a solid, flex option for you. And that's kind of where I see him at. The only really problem with the three receivers that you mentioned was Worthy. I personally just think he's going to be one of those receivers that's going to be, good week, bad week, good week, bad week, kind of like Gabe Davis. I remember he had like a 5 or 4 week stretch where he popped off and then did nothing, and then popped off and then did nothing, and then did nothing and then popped off. So that's kind of my opinion on it. And as the season goes on, we'll be able to tell you what's going to be able to happen with Xavier Worthy, but probably not right now. Jake, what do you got for me?
Personally, this year I'm actually kind of loving the rookie wide receivers. I mean, you got Malik Neighbors. We all know. I already touched on that. Love him. Marvin Harrison Jr. Brian Thomas Jr. He's actually been slowly putting up 10 points, or sorry, like 11 points in each of his games. And I kind of like him. Jacksonville, they've been struggling. Trevor Lawrence said it himself. He said, "We just suck right now." I see them bouncing back a little bit, and I see that in the form of the connection with him and Brian Thomas Jr. Worthy, I said it earlier, I'm not the biggest fan. Again, he's like a flex option. He's boom or bust to me. It's that's how it's looking. I also like Lad McConkey. I think this past week he dropped 6.4 if I'm not wrong. But in week one he had a touchdown. I know he had a few receptions. I do like him too. I think he's the most underrated wide receiver. Underrated rookie wide receiver out of the whole bunch. But yeah, I love the rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, of these three receivers you mentioned, Brian Thomas on an offense with, not a great receiver, having an all right season so far. Again, he's a rookie, but not a great receiver in an offense that has a bunch of. I wouldn't say he has any real competition. A lot of mediocre guys here so far this season. You got Ridley, you got ETN, but I don't know. I think he could have a pretty good season. I'd definitely put him in your team as a flex. Same with Malik Neighbors. Daniel Jones is obviously a pretty big risk, but not much competition in this team for Neighbors in terms of receiving. Obviously they've got Kenny Galladay, who they traded for, gave a bag to, and he's done absolutely nothing. Wando Robinson, not much upside for him there, so not much attention on him there. I think Neighbors is going to be a guy who could definitely be a good flex for you. And then, Xavier Worthy, we saw him get a touchdown in two touchdowns week one. He got one on the ground, but I couldn't agree more. He's definitely going to be one of those guys who's not very consistent. He's going to give you a bunch of points one week. He's not going to give you as many the next week. He's got Rashee Rice in that offense. He's got, obviously, Pacheco's down now. So, maybe a little more opportunity in the run game there, but you've also got Travis Kelce. So I don't know about Xavier Worthy. He's definitely going to be a on and off guy.
No, yeah, I mean, we all kind of have that same opinion on Worthy. He's on and off, right? Poob said, "Yo, this stream is tough." Thank you, Poob. Appreciate that. Now we're kind of just gonna talk about NFL for a little bit. We're not gonna have like a set program as to we're gonna talk about this. Everyone talks about this, and we're just gonna move on. What's happened in the NFL right now? It's gonna be more of a discussion. Tua Tagovailoa, the injury. We were talking about it before when I think Reddit stories. You were talking about Tyreek Hill, right? Um, Tua Tagovailoa is injured. He's being placed on IR. He has yet again another concussion. He's had more concussions than the Giants have had touchdowns this season. What is going on? Now you have Skylar Thompson as the QB2 who has to step up, and we see that he can't perform. Um, Someone said, "Oh, okay. Thoughts on Kirk Cousins?" We'll get into the Kirk Cousins comeback too. Um, Tua, listen, that Dolphins offense is going to be a little bit rough. Thoughts on Kirk Cousins' comeback drive? The drive itself was great. I mean, there was very, very minimal error, if any at all. Um, and I think he performed great. I think he performed the way that he used to be back in his prime Kirko, you know. But I wouldn't expect that every
Yeah.
single week.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
that
go ahead.
drive was nice. We saw Kirko chains. My only concern with Kirk is I was watching the film, saw a few TikToks. That back right foot, it's still hindering him. That's my only concern with him. But it was a big drive, and yeah, maybe we see the Falcons make the run here.
I mean, yeah, an insane drive from Kirk Cousins. Very unexpected one. Nobody saw this coming against the Philadelphia Eagles, a Super Bowl contender. Obviously, I remember watching the game yesterday, being in my dorm room. Obviously, we're in Pennsylvania here, and everybody in the building screaming as the Eagles lose the game. But it was very exciting to watch. Very, very surprising drive from Kirk Cousins.
100.
Amazing route ran by Drake London as well.
Nah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
did you
Drake
see the
London cooked
celebration? It
him.
was so funny.
That
The celebration was funny as well.
the celebration was funny, and then I think he got
Yeah.
unsportsmanlike conduct for it, right?
I didn't even. After he scored, I honestly turned off my TV and went to sleep. I
Uh,
was so tired.
the someone said the guy in the top right is so nonchalant.
Is that me? Am I
Yeah,
top right?
yeah, you're top right.
Yeah. Um, I was hoping we could talk about pretenders and contenders right now for the 2-0 teams, if you guys don't mind. So I was thinking we do like a little segment, like I named the 2-0 team. You guys say pretender and contender. We can get into it if you want or not.
I'm with it.
What do you guys think? All right,
I'm with it.
first team up, Bills. What do you think?
That's hard. Um,
Contender. I think that's an easy
I
contender.
think
They're a contender
I'm
every
gonna
year.
I
say,
They've
think
been a playoff
I'm
team.
gonna say
I
it's
think
like
they're an easy contender.
I'm gonna say contender, but I don't think it's easy. I don't
I think it,
yeah, I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's easy.
I think contender, but I see first round exit by them. Quite honestly,
Hold on. Reddit videos. Seahawks pretender. We're all Seahawks fans here, okay? So that's gonna
we're
offend
all
all of us.
Seahawks.
Yeah, but
This-
you're kind of right. I hate to break it to you. I don't wanna admit it.
No, yeah. I mean, I could see us making playoffs, but it's gonna be like wild
This is
card,
we are a
gambling
team
out.
that we are a 9-8 team, makes the playoffs, loses in the first or second round. Unfortunately, that happens every year. We haven't been that great in the last few years, but this year I don't know so much about pretender. I think we could go deep in the playoffs this year, if I'm being completely honest.
It's a chance. It's a
Brandon,
chance.
let's not be delusional now.
It
But
exists.
anyways, kind of straying from the pretender contender. Since we're all Seahawks fans, I am praying we get Shador. If we get Shador Sanders, I think
Dude,
we could be so good.
I have such
So
mixed
good.
feelings about Shador Sanders.
Really?
I'm not the
Really?
biggest Shedeur fan. I'm gonna be
I'm
honest.
not.
What?
I'm
I
not the
no,
biggest
and
fan of
this
Shedeur
I
Sanders.
I don't think that's a crazy opinion to have that you're a great Shador
I
Sanders
guess.
fan.
I guess.
No, I
But,
mean 100%. He's a great quarterback. We're seeing him play at Colorado.
Yeah.
Um, Listen, they have star players. O-line's weak. Defense is horrible. Um, so Shador has to be the guy to put up points. And we see him play at a good level. I don't know if we're going to see him play at that great level in the NFL. I think we'd have to see him, sit behind Geno for 1 to 2 years. I think that would be the best situation, kind of like how Jordan Love sat behind Rodgers, right? Or someone sat
Mm.
behind Rodgers. Yeah, it was Jordan Love. I think we just have to see that out of um, out of Shador. Uh,
Right.
Thug, Thug it out for Arch Manning. He's the
Arch
least on
Manning.
all. Yeah, thug it out for Arch Manning. Um, he's a great
Crazy
quarterback.
game. Crazy
Wow,
game. He's
Quinn Ewers going down with the injury. Arch
He,
Manning coming in.
yeah.
yeah, he's the first Manning. I see everybody talking about this. He's the first Manning with legs. That's what
Yeah,
everyone's saying.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think Peyton Manning said it best himself that their father's athleticism skipped a generation, went past Eli and Peyton, and went straight to Arch Manning.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
Okay,
no,
then
100%.
question. Would you guys rather have Shador or would you rather have Michael Penix? Like theoretically. Theoretically.
Michael
We had the
Penix.
chance with
Are
Penix,
are
but
are we
Falcon, of
going are
course.
we going off the assumption that he's already had this kind of time to sit back or no?
Yeah, like we're still starting Geno. We're still starting Geno. Penix is staying behind him. Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
I think after watching Penix's campaign at Washington last year, I definitely think he could have been and should have been the guy for
I
our
Yeah,
offense.
Dude,
I was raging when they took him.
like Penix, he would fit that offense so well. This
So
dude would
well.
he would throw the
He'd be
ball
Wilson.
in
He's literally
levels.
Wilson.
We would see him
He's
throw the
literally
ball.
Wilson.
We would see him throw the ball in ways to JSN and DK and Lockett and probably get Bobo in there somewhere in ways that we
Big
would not
Bobo.
be we would not be able to see before. I think 100% if we got Penix, I would take it 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah. All right. Let's go back to contender pretenders. This is turning into a Seahawks podcast. Steelers.
Pretender.
What do you
Pretenders,
guys think about this
pretender
team?
100%.
Pretender to some level, though. I feel like I
Listen,
see them missing the playoffs, but like
the defense is
they,
there.
the defense is so there. Even the run
I've
game too.
I've
The run game's there.
No, I'm gonna tell you.
But
I've said this before. I've said this. I'm gonna say it again. This offense, they definitely need to get the offense clicking. Otherwise, nothing's gonna happen. They've got a great defense, but
yeah,
24 of their 31 points so far this season isn't coming from Chris Boswell. Their kicker seems to
yeah,
do it all. 7 field goals in
crazy.
one game, and this is against Atlanta. I mean, they're not the worst defense, but you got to be able to score a touchdown or two.
No, I mean
Yeah, yeah.
100%. Yeah,
I mean, their run game is like okay. Najee, Jalen Warren. What do you guys think if when Russell Wilson gets to start? What do you think? Will that click, or what do you guys think?
I'm I
I
think
don't
it'll
know if Russell
click.
Wilson will get the start.
That's a
Yeah,
good point.
you don't think he'll
I
get the
don't know.
start?
I've seen Fields play. I think Fields plays pretty well. I think they just need to get. They just don't have that star power at receiver. I think that might be their only issue. And if they could get somebody there, if they could get their receivers clicking on the same page as Justin Fields, I think the offense could be good, and I think they could be a real contender. But right now, they don't have much going for them offensively.
I mean, I saw that. I think Russell Wilson. He's still not practicing. Like, I don't know if that's the. I don't know when he'll
It
be
pains
back.
me.
So yeah,
It pains me to say it, but I don't think Russ has it anymore. After
That's
seeing him
I
last season,
know.
I don't think Russ has it
oh.
anymore.
Yeah,
I think Justin Fields is going to be that guy in Pittsburgh.
Listen, I don't think he's going to
yeah,
be that guy, but he's going to be a quarterback that's going to have a lot of time to adjust to, Pickens and everybody else in that offense. You're going to have time to, you're also going to have time to see Najee and Jalen Warren kind of hopefully break out under Arthur Smith, who's a dude that likes to run the ball with
yeah.
two running backs so much.
Oh, yes.
We saw it in Atlanta with Bijan and Algier, but I think personally it's still going to be 50-50. That's why I'm kind of high on Bijan. That's for not sorry, Bijan. That's why I'm high on Najee, but that's for another day. Um,
Yeah.
But 100%. I
Right, next
mean,
team.
yes, the
Sorry.
Justin Fields has it. No, you're good. I was about to finish up anyway, but I think Justin Fields, he's going to be a really good plug-in for that offense.
Yeah. All right. Next team, the Los Angeles Chargers.
This is a
I
team I
want
can
you
say with
guys to.
complete certainty. This is a team I can say
This
with complete
is,
certainty that they are a contender.
oh, you
Yeah.
think so?
I think. I think they're a contender. I seriously think they're a contender. If they
Oh,
just lock it in, like Quincy Johnson just broke out. Like, I feel like that could keep going. And I just see them
I,
going pretty far.
I,
Honestly,
I
I could
mean,
see it.
we saw Quentin Johnson last season, brick hands and butterfingers, dude.
Terrible,
Like,
terrible.
but he had a very good time
Great game.
this week. Yeah, he had a very great game. Um, and hopefully we can kind of see why they drafted him over players like Jordan Addison, right? Why they drafted him over players that they did. I think, listen, if this was just a discussion, if Brandon's completely certain that they are pretender, and Jake is completely certain that they are contenders, and I have to make a decision, I would say contenders. But it's very, very, very split. Like 50.1 to 49.9. That's where my
Yeah.
split would be.
And I forgot to say J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is having a
Yes.
season.
Yes, a
Having a
hundred
Yeah,
season.
percent. 100%.
J.K.
Crazy.
Dobbins is having a pretty good season at running back, not, you know, being one of the only guys there. There's not much competition at running
Yeah.
back for him. He does get the ground game going, but I don't know if the air game is going to continue to be as consistent. I don't know if it's going to continue to be as well. Justin Herbert getting
Yeah.
injured at the end of the game. Justin Herbert, I think he needs to get it going, and right now he hasn't got it. He hasn't got that offense clicking as much as it needs to be. If he can get it going, they could be a contender. But right now, I think they're a pretender as a 2-0 team.
Yeah. Next one, Chiefs. Contender.
Contender.
Contender. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty obvious. We don't
I don't
even.
think there's any debate here for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're a contender
Pretty
every year. They've been a
obvious.
contender every year, and I think they will continue to be a contender for the next few years. As long as they've
As
got
long as
Patrick
they have,
Mahomes running this
yeah, as
offense.
long as they have
I
Patrick.
don't even need to speak on it. Like there's nothing there's nothing to talk
Yeah.
about. 100% contender, and I would die by that.
All right. We have the Vikings up next. Contender, in my opinion, contender.
With Sam Darnold performing the way he is, if he continues that, I'll say contender.
If this team stays hot, they're definitely contenders to make a late run in the playoffs. If obviously we got to see how this next week goes with Justin Jefferson hurt, Jordan Addison out. Don't know how well they're going to do there, but if they could keep Aaron Jones going, get him involved more like they did in Game 1, I think they could definitely be a contender, go further in the playoffs. But they've got to get
Yeah.
the receiver core down. They've got to get the receivers have to stay healthy, obviously, and Jones has to get more involved in this offense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's very
I
it's very
mean,
questionable.
as you said, if they stay hot, then yeah, but I don't see them staying hot, quite honestly,
That's it's
in
hot.
my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone has their opinions, obviously. I,
Yeah.
I could obviously see the side. I have high hopes for him. I have high hopes for Sam Darnold. I have high hopes for our boy Jalen Naylor, the top waiver wire pickup in your opinion. Um,
He's only rostered in 0.8% of leagues. I say.
by the way,
So easy waiver
yeah,
pickup.
I
You
mean,
don't even
yeah,
gotta sweat it.
there's a reason we talk about him.
I think I have him
Um,
in our league.
yeah, I think we got time for like one or two more contenders or pretenders, and then,
Yeah.
anybody who asks
There's only
questions,
a
and then
few
we'll
more
head off.
teams here.
All right,
Well, I mean, these are kind of quick. Buccaneers contender. I feel like we can all agree on that.
contender,
Explosive offense,
100%.
Contender.
Yeah.
such a crazy offense. Underrated defense too. Underrated.
Agreed.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, Saints. Contender. I like contender with them.
It's the same situation with the Vikings, except they're scoring a lot more points, and for that
Yeah.
reason, I'm
I
gonna say contender.
I think their offense is gonna start dying down. Not like crazy die down. Like they're still gonna drop like 20-ish points per game. I see them still being a contender.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you guys here. I'm gonna say pretender. They've been great so far, but it's the Dallas Cowboys and it's the Carolina Panthers. You know, these are the two teams that they beat. The Dallas Cowboys not the worst team, but obviously then you have the Carolina Panthers, who one of the worst defenses in the league we've seen so far. One of the worst teams overall we've seen in the league so far, and they've got Derek Carr quarterback now. He's not the worst, but he's never been that great of a quarterback. So I don't know if this trend continues of these 40-point games from the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Last one here, Seahawks. Pretender. But
it pains me to say pretender.
it pains
Yep.
to say that. Yeah. I could see us again, like fighting for that. How many wild card? Like, what is it? 7th or 8th seed gets wild card, if I'm not wrong. I forgot if they changed it or not. But I see us getting like fighting for that last spot. We either get it or we don't, 50-50. And then we probably get blown out in the playoffs, wild card game. But yeah, so I guess I would have to say pretender.
Yeah, it's kind of the same story every year. We get to the playoffs and then DK starts dropping passes for us and not performing the way he should. Something about the playoffs, it just rattles him. I don't know. I've never seen him do that well, so I don't know. We need him to continue to perform. We need JSN to perform, and obviously we need Lockett to perform. Kenneth Walker has to stay healthy. Obviously, we've got Charbonnet coming out of the backfield behind him, who had a pretty good game, but Walker needs to stay healthy, and we definitely need him back.
Yeah, it's rough in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean we have we have Dolphins, but no Tua. We're probably gonna win that game and be even more of a pretender. Like, I'm not complaining about the easy games, but it's making us look like the biggest frauds ever.
Yeah, and if you have a Dolphins receiver that game, I wouldn't be very confident about starting him. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Evan Witherspoon and Reek Willen. A little bit of bias here, but be best quarterback they were in the league. I love them. But yeah. You want to just see if there's like any more questions and then call it?
Yeah, I mean, we have 7 viewers in here, but nobody seems to have any questions or anything to talk about. Someone said Atlanta's defense is top 10. Jesse Bates is very good.
Jesse Bates with the game-saving interception there against the Eagles definitely could have been.
But
they could have walked away with a loss there if he hadn't done that.
Top 10 is a bit wild.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Top 15.
I can see it.
Top 15, definitely. Top 10, arguable.
I think you can make an argument for top 10 for the Atlanta defense.
Let's see. Is there any more?
No, I mean, we've got it all. I mean, we'll always be here. You guys could always come into our Discord. Ask any questions. We're there. We'll be able to answer them. You know, like we said in our bio, we're in college. We have classes. We'll get to it when we can. But we'll be able to answer. So, you know, thank you guys for coming on to the podcast and joining us. First episode. I think it's pretty successful. I think we have
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's pretty fun.
It's fun.
You know,
I think it's gonna be a great season.
It's just good talking about football with the boys, you know. Never can complain about that.
Nothing better.
100%. All right. We're gonna head off the air. Once again, join our Discord if you have any questions. And we'll see you guys in the next one, you know. Tune in Tuesday around 8:30, 8:45-ish o'clock, maybe earlier, maybe later. Tune in. We'll see you there.